is at 27. Many of those confirmed deaths happen at a partially collapsed apartment complex very close to the epicenter in Northridge. That's where Claren Scott is tonight to show us firsthand the tragedy and the spirit of survival. Claren?
June, it is going to be a long night here at the Northridge Meadows apartment complex. This all started this afternoon, as you know, really very early this morning. The earthquake seemed to hit here with a vengeance, ripping right through this apartment complex, flattening a 3-story building down into a 2-story building, and we were told 14 people were killed. That is a new number, by the way. 14 people now are killed. Now, looking for bodies during the daylight was bad enough. Now rescue crews are forced to do it at night. Electrical generators powered floodlights as rescue crews continue to pull out rubble to get to the bottom floor. They still can't say for sure if all the victims are accounted for, so the search goes on using everything available to them.
There's sound sonar type equipment that they're using. They're using the dogs. They're using 5-opter TV cameras within the building itself. So they're using everything they possibly can to get into those void spaces to identify if anybody is still there.
This couple was sleeping in their bed in their first-floor apartment when the quake brought the whole building down on them, trapping them inside. Neighbors had to pull them out.
Real happy to be alive.
Earlier in the day, bodies came out on stretchers, one after the other, as the aftershocks continued. This was the biggest of the day, shaking cars on the streets and catching this reporter by surprise. Now, there's an earthquake right now. You can feel an aftershock. You see the trucks moving. We're inside now trying to cut audio for one of our packages, and you can just feel you can see the street lights shaking. Take a look at the street lights, Phil. Street lights are shaking. That was quite a good aftershock there. On the Richter scale, we are told. And June, I know that you lived here for a while. You've probably been through a few of these, but that was my first one. It is amazing how you can feel the ground just kind of rumble and roll underneath your feet.
Well, I'm actually very proud of you, Claren. You seemed very calm. You were putting together your package there, and you didn't miss a beat.
Well, it's surprising to me as well. I didn't realize what it was at first, to tell you the truth. We were into it a good 5 to 10 seconds before I realized, indeed, what was happening.
All right. Well, hopefully you won't feel very many more of those tonight.
I hope not either.
Thanks, Claren.
2 people that lived in that ill-fated apartment complex are being credited with saving more than a dozen lives today. Buffy Joe and Alan Fitch helped save at least 15 people from inside that collapsed building. The Fitches made their way to the 3rd floor and tied fire hoses around the waist of residents to bring them out. Also today, firefighters rescued a maintenance worker, as we showed you, from beneath the parking garage that collapsed at Northridge Fashion Square. The man was sweeping the garage when the quake hit. He was trapped under the debris for 5 hours before he was successfully rescued. Night has fallen on the City of Angels, and now new problems are coming to light. First of all, where to sleep. Hundreds of people have lost their homes, and hundreds more are too afraid to go to bed in their own house. They have filled parks and makeshift tent cities throughout the Northridge area. John Hook is also in Southern California tonight covering the earthquake aftermath and joins us now for a look at that part of the story. John?
Well, Bob, Northridge Meadows apartment complex is one of many apartment complexes in the Northridge area, the epicenter of this quake, that are out of power, out of lights, and many people have been evacuated. And we caught up with many people tonight taking in the evening in the park. Many people knocked out of their homes are spending the night in parks, and they're prepared for a long stay.
If I need to sleep here 3 or 4 days, I go to sleep in the park. I think it's not only me, most of the people is scared to back to the buildings, you know. This thing never stops, it's continuing. Every 2 hours is more, another one.
The people here have frightening stories to tell about what happened this morning.
It was, I mean, we felt it for 10 or 15 seconds, but it was just like for a long time, you know. So it was really terrifying.
In Northridge, at the epicenter of the quake, glass is everywhere, and store owners are protecting what merchandise wasn't damaged in the quake. Police have issued a dusk to dawn curfew and zero tolerance for looters. The Northridge branch of World Savings. I'm going to take you right through the front door that was blown out during this quake. The window completely laying on the ground. This was once the front entryway, and now there are crews inside even at this hour trying to clean up the mess.
Okay, so I think it got hit by a car. We had to take its eye out.
And people aren't the only ones suffering. A local animal hospital went on generator power to treat animals injured in the quake.
We knew there were animals here that needed to be treated, and we just needed to come in to try to help out as much as we could.
If it weren't for the television lights in front of this apartment complex, it would be in total darkness tonight. The power is out in a wide area here in Northridge, although they're starting to get it restored. And a lot of people are out of their homes, and you can bet over the next several days that as building inspectors start looking closely at the damage, a lot more people will be evicted because the damage here that we've seen is widespread.
John, have you seen any presence of the National Guard so far there tonight?
Not yet, Bob. Not here. We haven't seen it yet. We know they're out there, some 1,500 of them. And, of course, a big concern tonight is looting, and we do know that there have been sporadic outbreaks of looting here. All
right, that's John Hook reporting live from the San Fernando Valley.
Today's earthquake in California hit at 4:31 a.m. California time. They're an hour behind us and measured 6.6 on the Richter scale. That scale measures the motion of the ground. You're looking at pictures of a seismograph today as it recorded aftershocks. As the lines get darker and wider, that indicates when the quake's magnitude increases. Magnitude ratings help determine how severe the quake is. An earthquake of 6 on the Richter scale can cause severe damage in a local area. As we're seeing today, a 7 reading is a major quake. An 8 reading is a great quake capable of tremendous damage.
One woman who witnessed that tremendous damage firsthand decided that it was time to leave California and head home to Arizona. This is April Orlandon. She's now safe and sound at her mother's home in Mesa. April is 7 months pregnant. That's why when this morning's earthquake jolted her out of bed, she decided to hit the road. Her husband was already here, and they say they're not going back.
You know, the fires, the earthquakes, I'm sure they're probably trying to loot our house right now. Yeah, no doubt about that.
There's a lot of looting.
Right now, and crime. We're not in a very good part of town, so it's not worth it.
April and Randy were recently laid off from their jobs, so they're going to stay here and begin to look for work.
Well, they aren't the only ones who headed to Arizona after the quake. Residents trying to get away from their destroyed homes share the highway into our state with visitors who cut their trips to California short.
The whole room just started vibrating like that, and I jumped up and I went to the door and I looked out. The swimming pool was right out there, and the water was just doing like this, and other people come running out. It lasted, about 35, 40 seconds.
Everybody in the apartment complex was outside, and they were all huddled in groups, and my living room wall was split in half.
Some of the valley's major trucking companies had to cancel runs in and out of Los Angeles because of the damage to highways. Greyhound is running buses to San Diego, but not to Los Angeles. Here in the valley, residents in Glendale and Sun City say they felt the effects of the quake in their homes. The Schumacher family of Glendale says their grandfather clock stopped at 5:36 Arizona time, minutes after the quake hit in Los Angeles. Pat Manola of Glendale says this morning his wife noticed the quake affecting their grandfather clock.
She says, well, the pendulum of the clock is hitting the counterweights of the chimes. And I says, oh, yeah. And so we had the chiming going, and I looked at the chandelier by the table over there, and it was swinging.
All the way to Glendale. The Salt River Project generating station near Page was affected as well. This plant provides power for Los Angeles. When much of the power went out in Los Angeles area, one of the units at the station shut off because of the dramatic drop in the demand for electricity. Arizona Public Service reports that one unit at its Four Corners generating plant shut down for the same reason.
Those rumblings felt not only here in Arizona, but also were felt all across the western part of the United States. Folks felt the tremors in San Diego, 125 miles south of the epicenter. So did people 275 miles to the east in Las Vegas. The quake's ripple effect also extends to the upper northwest. Some 30,000 people lost power in Seattle just after the quake. Another 10,000 lost power in Portland, Oregon. Those utilities are on the same electrical grid as Los Angeles. Many local residents are concerned tonight, and rightly so, about family and relatives in
That and more.